there is attempt, as the devs say it'll be incredibly difficult to pull that off, which is where the incentive and encouragement to, first build up Cohen comes in, get stronger, to form relationships with NPCs and possibly gather allies, and to just experience what the world has to offer with its quests and loot and all that good RPG stuff. Now, there is no main quest in this game, so to say. Every quest you do is part of your own story to accomplish your own goals, and Dawnwalker appears to be packed with plenty of choice-driven consequence. It's just formatted in a much less traditional RPG style. There's also a pretty important time mechanic going on in the game where you only have 30 days and 30 nights to save your family, and the game actually supposedly still goes on after that. But do note that exploration of the world, for example, won't actually progress time forward, so you don't always feel like you're on a clock. Anything that's actually going to progress time forward, the game is going to let you know before you decide to engage with that activity or, attempt a certain quest and so on. I definitely understand some people's hesitation on time mechanics in general, but I, for one, am excited to try something different for once, and I'm just going to trust the devs as of right now with their intended design and just see what it offers. I'm also a huge fan of the darker, grittier tone that they've shown so far, the trailer and the gameplay. I've never been the biggest vampire fan, but I do like vampires when they're more part of mature, grounded medieval fantasy, and in this case, medieval folklore. So I'm much more interested here. This is dark, gritty medieval vampire, not Twilight. Now, I actually got to play Blood of the Dawnwalker less than 2 weeks ago. I can't talk about what I experienced just yet, but stay tuned. It's not too far off in the future. And actually, that's really it for 2026. There are definitely other games that I'm interested in and even excited for, but none that have me at above average RPG anticipation levels, at least as of right now. But continuing on here, let's talk about another RPG, Clockwork Revolution, which recently got a 2027 release year. This is an ambitious looking first-person RPG from In Exile Entertainment, the studio behind the Wasteland games. And from everything they've shown so far, it looks like we have quite the reactive RPG here. We're told that the game's design is taking a butterfly effect approach, where decisions made in the past can physically reshape entire districts, change NPC lives, and unlock different side quests in the present. So you're probably noticing a theme here in this video. The RPGs that I'm most excited for tend to have a lot of reactivity and permutation elements. This game is set in the steampunk city of Avalon, where you'll find that history itself has been changed and manipulated by the city's ruling class. And us, we, the players, will be using a device called the chronometer that will allow us to go back in time to change the past to then return to a reshaped present. And that idea alone is enough to pique my interest. And as someone who's traditionally a huge fantasy medieval fan, I'm actually excited to change that up a bit and get some steampunk going on next year. There's a bit of a BioShock vibe with this game. Now, another reason why I'm excited is that In Exile does have a good reputation built on player choice, branching quests, and meaningful consequences. So one would assume that that will continue here with Clockwork Revolution. Moving on to Metro 2039, coming out on February 27th for PC and current-gen consoles. And yeah, I know it doesn't fully fit this list as it's more of a story-driven survival first-person shooter, but I'm putting it in this video anyways as I find myself really excited for it, and I think it's going to pique the interest of at least some of you as well. And also note that we've been told that the game will be placing a big emphasis on choice consequence, which is actually a very RPG thing, even though the game's not really an RPG. Now, I never actually played Metro Exodus from 2019. I watched a friend play it for a bit, but never played myself. But I've heard so many great things about it. And also, after playing Stalker 2 last year, a game that falls into a similar category, I would say, I find myself really getting in that mood for an immersive post-apocalyptic game. And hey, my name is Wolfhard FPS. I should put that FPS part of the name to use. The atmosphere of Metro, and from the trailer here, appears to be one of the game's biggest strengths. If they can really lean into that immersion aspect alongside having some player choice, I am all for it. Souls-like enjoyers, I'm putting Lords of the Fallen 2 on this list, as I am a Souls-like fan, and I feel like I should have at least one in this video, even though this game isn't necessarily, on par with my excitement for Divinity and games like that. For a Souls-like, I can't really think of any other besides whatever FromSoft is working on in the future.
How we doing?
Good.
Any other Souls-like that has me as excited as this one does. I actually just watched the recent gameplay trailer and it looks pretty sick, I gotta say. I actually enjoyed the first game too. Even though it was far from perfect, it launched to a lot of criticism from the Souls community. So I was already interested in hearing about the sequel, but this recent gameplay just took that to a whole new level. It looks really solid, it looks fun, it looks challenging, and next year I think I'm going to be in a Souls-like mood again. And this game is currently planned for Q1 of 2027 for PC and current gen consoles, and it should actually also have co-op. And now on to another potential indie gem, like I said, Varen's Call will hopefully be, and that is Outward 2. Now, the first Outward goes down as one of my favorite indie games of all time, so I do have high expectations for the sequel. Early access was originally planned for this year, July actually, but they recently announced that they're going to be pushing that back to 2027. Outward 2, like the first game, will be placing
I think the first game looks better, to be honest.
you into the world not as some legendary hero or king. Instead, you're just another adventurer trying to survive, and survive you must, as this game blends the survival genre with the RPG genre, and I personally love that combination in video games. I do note that this game will actually feature 2-player co-op. Nine Dots Studio has a strong philosophy of letting players figure things out for themselves rather than hand-holding and quest markers littering all over your screen. And if Outward 2 is anything like the first one, which it will be, they will be executing on this very well. One example here is your character marker will not show up on your map when you look at the map, but because the world is designed with proper signage and roads and landmarks such as lighthouses and mountains, etc., you can still navigate the map quite well. It just takes a little more engagement with the game. You have to immerse yourself in it and actually look around and see where you're at and think a little bit. Use your brain just a little bit. And all of that resulted, at least in the first game, in some really beautiful exploration moments, some tough survival situations. I have all sorts of memories in Outward 1 of being lost in the dark and diseased and all sorts of crazy stuff. Now, before you head out on a journey, and do note the game is quest-based, it has main quests, side quests, etc., you will need to pack supplies such as food and water. You'll have to prepare for harsh weather with proper clothing, and just be as ready as possible for the unknown. And all of that survival, challenge stuff is on top of the game being an RPG with some branching paths with your faction choice and your starting area choice, character creation, and plenty of different ways to build your character. I think Outward 2 has a great chance at being another cult classic like the first one was. It was very successful, but it was quite niche at the same time. And the devs have stated openly that they're not making this second one to try to appeal to a wider audience. They're just trying to make Outward 1 basically on steroids, and I love to hear that. Also in 2027, we actually have 2 sci-fi games, 2 sci-fi RPGs that have been at the peak of my interest for a while now. Let's start off with Exodus, which is being developed by a team that's comprised of several notable BioWare devs such as Chris King, Chad Robertson, Drew Karpyshyn, and even James Olin was leading the project for the majority of its development time. Exodus is currently slotted for early 2027 for PC and current gen consoles, but I'd say a delay is possible. I don't really know though. Now, the main reason why I'm excited for this one is the world building and lore, as I've delved very deeply into it in the TTRPG and some novels that Peter F. Hamilton wrote, and the potential for the game's time dilation mechanics, but we have yet to see if that'll actually be meaningful and how far they take it. When it comes to world building, the Exodus franchise has already set up some of the most incredible lore out there for the sci-fi genre. And the game, at least from my experience, as I did get to play an early version of it for close to 4 hours, appears to be building on that further in a good way when it comes to the lore and world building. Now, the time dilation mechanic is very interesting in theory for this game, as in the game you're going to be heading out on missions with companions and traveling at near light speed, which will then cause the places that you leave behind to experience time at a much slower rate relative to what you experienced. And if this system is done well, we could be in for some really interesting choice consequence. When I played the game, the gameplay itself also felt very solid, which was great to experience, as many people value gameplay very highly in their video games, believe it or not. And while I do have plenty of concerns still over companions, face models, and some of the systems potentially not being as interesting as they could be when looking at the scope of the game, I remain hopeful, and as I said in my recent video going over my hands-on time, I am leaning positive. I mean, leaning is very different than standing positive, but I'm feeling hopeful that there could be something good here if they have the time that they need to really flesh things out and give the fans what they want. So more Exodus on the channel in the future, so stay tuned for that. And our next sci-fi game is none other than The Expanse: Osiris Reborn, another party-based sci-fi RPG.
This is supposed to be good.
And there's 3 reasons here that stand out to me as to why this one has piqued my interest. And number 1 is I like the Expanse TV show, and I'm currently on my own little sci-fi arc right now, as most of my life has been spent obsessing over fantasy medieval type stuff. So it's exciting to have 2 sci-fi universes that both have upcoming games right now. Number 2 is that it's Owlcat Games, and Owlcat as a studio has a great reputation when it comes to RPGs, specifically CRPGs really, as The Expanse is actually their first action RPG. But I'm really hoping here that some of their design philosophies will carry over to this game as well. And reason number 3 is that Owlcat recently announced that they're replacing the male voice actor for the game. Obviously, for the voice actor, that's not good news. But the reason why this stands out to me is because player feedback from the demo was very strong in stating that the voice actor for the male custom character and his brother just wasn't really a good fit for this game, and it was kind of killing the vibe. And Owlcat actually listened and is taking action. Owlcat does have a history of showing that they listen to player feedback, and sure, that doesn't mean that Osiris Reborn will automatically be great, but it's a good sign in this day and age where it seems like so many studios don't really listen to feedback. I played the demo, and overall I did enjoy it. The game still has a long way to go. A lot of people pointed out Marvel style dialogue, which hopefully they are able to work on that, because tone is very important and immersion is very important in these RPGs. But for now, I'm going to remain hopeful that they really nail things down, and maybe we're going to have another sci-fi gem on our hands. And speaking of listening to player feedback, let's talk about Solasta 2, which is actually currently out in early access on PC. It should be out on console as well when 1.0 comes out. For those unaware, this is a game that's based on the 2024 D&D 5.1 rule set. I might be getting that a little bit wrong, but it's a party-based, turn-based CRPG, and while many things will feel familiar to D&D players or even BG3 players, the game has its own universe and lore, its own variations on D&D classes, and etc. I actually really enjoyed the first Solasta. It was very indie and quite low budget feeling in certain areas, but overall the gameplay was extremely solid and fun. And with Solasta 2, Tactical Adventures actually appears to be really upping their game when it comes to things that were kind of subpar in Solasta 1, such as visual presentation and voice acting and all that good stuff that can really help you immerse yourself into an RPG. But back to player feedback, the character creator in early access when it first came out received a decent amount of criticism, and lo and behold, a month or 2 later, maybe it was more than that, Tactical Adventures actually updated early access with a very much improved character creator, which clearly took a lot of time, especially for a small studio. And they showed us that they are willing to listen and really try to make the best game that they possibly can with what they're limited to when it comes to resources and time. Very excited for 1.0. I don't want to say it's a BG3-like, because then that brings up expectations for it to be on BG3's level, and we're talking this game's probably like 5 to 10% of BG3's budget, maybe even less. But both games still fall into a similar category and even subcategory of RPG and CRPG. It is time now to briefly talk about Kingdom Come, as Warhorse did announce that another Kingdom Come game is in development, and we may even see it as early as next year. Now, we know basically nothing about it, and the gameplay in the background is once again KCD 2.
What? Kill
We
him.
don't know who the characters will be. We don't know if it will take place after Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Will it be more of a little spin-off type game, or an actual full-blown standalone RPG. Do
Yeah,
note
we
that
got
it has been announced as the next Kingdom Come game, not actually Kingdom Come Deliverance, so that obviously means something. Regardless, as I stated earlier in the video, I think Warhorse is one of the best RPG studios in the industry right now, and I definitely look forward to this next adventure, and I'm happy to inform any of you guys that might not have known that this is actually happening alongside the Middle-earth RPG. And then, of course, also in 2027, we have Fable, which is definitely still up in the air as to whether or not it'll be a good game or not. It's been delayed quite a lot. I would assume they're fixing things that received criticism in the past, which is actually a good sign, but at the same time, it's like, how many reiterations of a game can you do and have it still end up being a good game? I'm not entirely sure, but OG Fable 1 is a very nostalgic game for myself, and I am excited to return to Albion. I think the world design, the way the environments look, and the immersion of that all look really good.
I never liked
in this
Fable
one,
that much.
They look quite beautiful, very fairy tale-like, which is exactly what I want for a Fable game.
In the woods.
Well, the character design, yeah, maybe not so much, but honestly, for a lighthearted, more silly type game like Fable, I don't really care that much about that. We have seen some interesting systems involving reputation, and the devs do seem to be placing a big emphasis on life sim type elements such as owning homes, getting married, etc.
Wasting time.
And I look forward to just living in Albion alongside having an actual RPG, hopefully. Choice consequence also appears to be a big focus for this game, and I know it is marketing jargon these days for many studios to say that, but the Fable devs have talked about a few instances of choice consequence. No, that sound pretty cool, such as if you decide to kill this one giant character, he seems to be a fairly important NPC, his body will fall and his corpse will remain near the town where he was killed, which in turn affects some of the prices of homes in the area. It's pretty disappointing not seeing the return of some of the OG systems like growing horns on your head or a halo. I think that's a major missed opportunity, and I do think Fable is better suited for a good versus evil, morality system rather than this moral ambiguity system that they seem to be going with. But I'm open to give it a try, and I'd be lying if I didn't say that I still wasn't excited for this game. It's one of the RPGs that I do think about quite often. Let's hope that they pull it off, and if they don't, well, oh well. And next up is The Witcher 4, and do note that this is tech demo gameplay, so not real gameplay. There's definitely some controversy out there on this one for several reasons, and there's no denying that the botched release of Cyberpunk 2077, which also came with a dose of deceptive marketing, is not easily forgiven, nor do I expect everybody to just forgive and forget. With that said, when I look at CDPR's past, they are clearly one of the most successful RPG studios in the industry, and they basically have not released a bad game yet. In fact, Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077, their two most recent games, are still among the most successful RPGs of all time, even if Cyberpunk took a bit to get to that point. While I do personally prefer playing RPGs, with character creators or even male protagonists when given the actual choice. That's typically what I choose. I feel like I can relate and immerse myself in the role a little bit more. I still think that Ciri is a natural fit for a Witcher game, and I'm good with continuing on the journey with her. Only time will tell, though, if the audience at large also feels this way, as Geralt is the Witcher to many, understandably. I actually started reading the Witcher books recently, so I am diving into the lore, and this of course is also increasing my anticipation for more Witcher 4 news and of course the game itself. And really, the idea of another massive RPG, as this is what CDPR does, is really exciting to think about. If they've not gained back your trust yet, fair enough, and I will certainly make sure not to, blind myself with too much hopium here, but as of now, I'm going to remain optimistic. And actually, for the last game on this list, I'm actually kind of scared to say it, because I honestly don't know what to expect, but I'm going to put it on this list anyways, because the idea of it being good is really exciting to think about. And you know what, if things point to it just being garbage as we get closer, I will call it out. But I'm gonna hold off and try to stay a little bit more neutral and level-headed for now until we get more concrete information and more gameplay and news and all of that. And this is none other than the Elder Scrolls 6. The reason why I'm excited is because the Elder Scrolls games in general are some of my favorite games of all time. Bethesda is very good at immersion and, you know, the soundtrack to accompany that, and just kind of giving you a sandbox style world where you can go wherever you want and stuff like that. And that really fits my style for what I like in RPGs, that unprecedented freedom. And I also think the Elder Scrolls just has a ton of lore that's so awesome and cool, and you can go back and play all the games to learn more about things and bring all that knowledge to this next game, and all of it I think will tie together quite nicely. But with all that said, I 100% agree with the sentiment that not all things point to Bethesda being the studio that they used to be. They don't really seem to be interested in changing the trajectory of their reputation. It seems to not be the greatest right now and only going down, and it doesn't seem like they really care. And I've also seen instances of arguing with players on Steam reviews, implying that players are just playing Starfield wrong, for example. Emil, I think his name is, or is it Emil? MLP, the current studio director, has addressed criticism in the past with saying things like it's just not everyone's cup of tea, and that players are disconnected from the realities of game development, which, even though I agree that there's probably a lot of truth from players being disconnected from the reality of game development, at the end of the day, all that matters is if players are happy and willing to spend money on your product. And if they're not, it doesn't matter if they're connected or disconnected, they're not going to play your game, and it's going to fail. So yes, it is very much concerning seeing some stuff like this, and of course this is all under Microsoft's umbrella, and who the heck knows what's going on at Microsoft these days. It can't be that exciting to work for a studio under Microsoft, right? Which I think would ultimately affect your motivation to work on any game at Microsoft, knowing that you could just be fired the next day, or laid off, should I say. And that of course plays into my thoughts here. Even CDPR, they've just become quite the corporation these days, and you know, that's a concern for The Witcher 4 as well. Another concern that I have, it's funny, I'm turning this into a concern section now, even though it's on my most hyped list here, is that Starfield, their most recent game, while I don't think is the worst game ever made, not by any stretch of the imagination, it's just quite lacking in so many areas, and it's kind of sad to see Bethesda not really show much evidence of improving or innovating in the right ways. You know, a bunch of procedurally generated planets isn't really the innovation that us players want, and it's just such a different, like, if you compare Larian Studios with Original Sin and how they innovated and improved to Original Sin 2, which then led to Baldur's Gate 3, like, it's such a crazy difference from looking at Bethesda's history here. Now, with all that said, I'm going to give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt here until we actually see some Elder Scrolls 6 in action, and that's when my opinion might start being swayed, you know, one way or the other. But there's no denying that the idea of the Elder Scrolls 6, even just being a good game, even if it's not necessarily the most amazing game ever made, is exciting to think about, because it's the Elder Scrolls, it's Tamriel, and there's so many unique experiences in this franchise. I just hope they can continue at least some of that. And I'm going to leave it at that for this video. There's plenty of other games that I am excited for, but these are the ones that truly stand out, that I have my mind locked onto almost daily, and some of these games are going to take over the channel once we have enough news and information, such as Divinity and the Middle-earth RPG. Let me know down below what games you are most excited for, ones that you really think about just all the time, the ones that stand out, to see if I did miss any, actually. Then we'll take a look at all the comments. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. Stay tuned for that Dawnwalker hands-on impressions video. Can't tell you the date, but soon enough, my friends.
Phase Possum. 33, nice. For Rocha. Okay, we go out now. I finally won a fucking Overwatch competitive. Time to go into Fortnite and win some Fortnite. I left on a win last night. Let's see if we can win on. We'll leave on a win tonight. I can't believe EverQuest Legends is doing this. This Reddit sister drama is insane. EverQuest Legends, huh? This Reddit sister, why the comments are winning? Warm fill. PlayStation has stopped all sales of physical discs. This lad situation is absolutely insane. Camel on a Chain Steam launch has failed. Most disturbing crimes in the world of Warcraft. No. I'm not interested in this either. I don't know why you pitched it at me. I rated every book in Skyrim as Anastasia. Riot's MMO could be the most exciting MMORPG in development. That could be true. Yeah, let's listen to that. That could be true.
It's been 6 years since Riot first announced their upcoming...
I'm due for a Throne and Liberty revisit, which is something I do need to do. It's, it's on the list.
MMO. And the crazy...
Gotta go take a look at their version of public raids, enough to understand what it is before I just poo-poo it.
Thing is, since then we've had no...
I thought New World was superior, but New World is dead, and that's the same company.
Gameplay, no...
Same Amazon Game Studios. Not the same developer, but the same producer.
No screenshots and no proper reveal trailer. Yet despite that, it remains one of the most talked about and exciting MMO projects currently in development. Every time a new dev joins the team or a new job listing pops up, and
I didn't really give Where Winds Meet a fair twist, but I mean, I don't think it's the greatest game. It didn't jump at me. Okay, I'm going in. It is cold tonight. Play. Yeah, and I'm going to go get some pants. I'm wearing boxers, and I'm gonna put some pants on. Chilly in here. Okay, we're into some Fortnite, bitch. Let's win. Oh no, I lost my crown, I guess. I don't know. Do I have a crown? How do I tell? I don't know. I think I do. All of this is down for some reason. Okay. I don't know why that was turned down, but okay.
Time someone from the company maybe mentions it online, it sort of reignites an excitement that many of us have for what the game could be if it's executed well. And well, I think it's because Riot's MMO sits in a sort of unique position. It's being backed by one of the biggest gaming companies in the world, and it's built inside a universe that millions of us already know and care about through League of Legends, Legends of Runeterra, even the Arcane show, or the new TCG Riftbound that we on the channel have absolutely got addicted to recently. Seriously, we really enjoy this TCG, it's really fun to play and collect. But let's not forget that the MMO genre is also known for failed launches and flopped projects. So I want to take a look at everything we know about Riot's MMO, why the project was completely years ago, and what Riot might be building now, and why it remains one of the most interesting MMO projects currently in development. Terra. This is the same universe that League of Legends, Arcane, Legends of Runeterra, and all of that take place in. The project was officially revealed back in 2020, initially it was being led by better known to MMO players as Ghost, a dev that many people will recognize for his years of working on World of Warcraft. But what's interesting to me is the fact that the MMO is set in this world, because over the last decade, it's actually become one of the most fleshed out fantasy settings in gaming, and this MMO project is poised to take full advantage of the massive world building, variety of characters, and the setting that they've been building this whole time. There's political conflicts, factions, diverse races, and drastically different biomes, like the frozen wilderness of the Freljord, the pirate cities of Bilgewater, and
Yeah, like
so
F is
much
not
more.
getting
There's
me out of
literally
this car.
dozens
It's
of
weird.
locations that feel like they were made perfectly for an MMO. Plus, a lot of people already know and love this setting. Millions of people are aware of the characters, some of the regions, the different media online, as well as some of the stories in this world. But if you've been following the project for a while, you'll probably remember a couple of years ago, a lot of people thought the project was in big trouble. Basically, back in 2024, Riot revealed that the project has effectively been reset and that they're taking the game in a whole new direction. Obviously, this was concerning news to hear, but it actually might be the thing that saved this project from being a massive disappointment. The reason that Riot gave for doing this is pretty interesting. According to Mark Merrill, co-founder, co-chairman, and chief product officer of Riot Games, the version that they've been building simply wasn't different enough. They felt it was heading towards being another MMO that looked and felt too similar to games already on the market. So Riot didn't want to create just another generic MMO and made the choice to start over. This does, however, mean it will be much longer till we all play it, but the more I think about it, the more I really respect that choice. MMOs are incredibly expensive to make, they're super risky and very difficult to pull off. Plus, they need a reason for lots of players to fully commit to their game long term and to try something new from the other MMOs they aren't ready to own. Earlier this year, Mark Merrill described the MMO as Riot's project that he personally spends the most time on, which is a pretty notable claim when you consider everything else Riot has going on and the fact that he's in such a high position in the company. This pretty much pseudo-confirms that the game isn't in limbo and is chugging along in development. Plus, over the last couple of years, Riot has also quietly been assembling an increasingly impressive-looking list of MMO veteran devs. Many of these people have major backgrounds working on World of Warcraft and other online games. Earlier this year, Raymond Bartos, a former World of Warcraft lead producer, joined the team as a senior game producer. Then more recently, Brian Halinka, known for his work on combat systems, class design, and PvP content in WoW, also joined the team. So while we haven't seen a lot outwardly, it looks like they're really committing to making this game a reality with some pretty good talent. Of course, there is still the question we all want answered: what will the game look like? Well, before the development reset, the devs did speak about ideas like dungeons, raids, player housing, character customization, fishing, and a free-to-play model that will be supported by cosmetics. There were also indications that Riot was leaning towards more of a modern combat style rather than the traditional tap challenge.
What? The gun didn't shoot his ass!
Project before Riot did that shift in direction in that reset. So a lot of it is still up in the air. I do, however, think that the world of Runeterra gives them a huge amount of flexibility. The setting easily supports large-scale wars between regions and factions, which makes me think of something like the World v World v World in Guild Wars, or just straight-up PvP. There's also so many regions rich for a huge world with lots of exploration, and I do expect some type of dungeon or raid content as well as a character creator. Progression, however, is pretty much unknown, and I think that will be a major thing that will make or break the game, so I do hope at some point in the future we'll get a proper look at
Wait,
exploration of how
what?
that
Oh,
will
I'm in
work.
the wrong
What's funny to me, though,
mode.
is that I don't actually think Riot's biggest challenge here
He's
is
probably
developing
cheating.
the game itself. I mean, they've clearly got the money, and it seems like they're recruiting the talent. I think the
put
real
me in the
challenge
normal
will be
battle
convincing
royale.
people to actually commit to a brand new MMO.
Why did you put me in
Given
build?
that the genre has kind of been going downhill lately, with very few upcoming enticing options on the horizon. If you look at the MMO landscape today, many of the biggest and most respected names are pretty old. They're games that have been around for years or decades, and
Yeah, I want
plus,
to play
people
4
who
player.
play them
That'd
at
be
this
fun.
point
Can we
have
do
already
that?
invested
Photo
hundreds
server.
or thousands of hours into them. This is one of the reasons why we see so many MMO projects struggle. Many people already have their main committed MMO that they love, and they might dabble in new ones.
4 player
These
will be
kind of
fun.
games need people to come back
I've
playing
been solo
every
for so
day.
long, been winning
But
and
for this
stuff.
one, Riot already does have an audience. League of Legends is still one of the biggest games in the world. The Arcane show introduced even more people to the world of Runeterra, and it was fantastic if you haven't seen it. So maybe the sheer word of mouth and the known identity here will be enough to get people in, but the game will need to be good enough to get us to stay as well. So this brings us to the question that everyone's asking: when can we play it? The honest answer is nobody knows outside of Riot themselves. There's no release date or even a launch window. Personally, I'm actually less interested in the release date compared to when the first
3
big
players.
major gameplay
I'll just
reveal
leave
will be.
in. I want a
Because
full
once we
team.
actually see the game in action and the type of gameplay they're going for, the whole thing
No,
could start
why did you
properly
close the
blowing
game?
up, and that's when I think
No,
it's
I
going to
wanted
get
to
exciting.
leave.
For now, though, Riot's MMO remains one of the most exciting MMO projects in development, at
Why
least
did you
alongside
close?
for me,
No.
Guild Wars 3. But what do you think? Do you still believe Riot's MMO could be the next big thing for the MMO genre? Or do you think people's expectations will be too high because, of course, it is League of Legends and Runeterra?
I don't care about League of Legends and I don't care about Runeterra.
In this video, we'll be going over all the major combat changes with the Umbral Sands update, as well as all the changes the devs have acknowledged and said they will be doing in the future 12.1 update coming sometime soon. So to start it out, let's talk about the new magic type that you'll have access to. This is water magic, and it has some pretty unique properties. First off, you'll have your standard 4 attack combo with it, which will do a lot of AoE and is surprisingly really good at leveling your magic if you go farm zombies. This also works anywhere else that you can find a large group of slow moving enemies, but personally this is where I found it to be the easiest for me to level my magic damage, as I could hit massive groups in one go. Even better though has to be its right click ability, which allows you to charge up a kind of blob over your head and then drop it on the ground, causing an area of effect around you that does some damage, as well as actually healing you, so you won't have to go and use food in order to do so. Speaking of which, they have completely gotten rid of health potions, and healing has totally changed. Now you'll actually heal by eating food just like you would in original RuneScape. However, there is a limitation to how much food you can eat in a short period of time, so you'll still have to dodge things and be careful. It's also important to note there is no more animations for eating food, so you don't have to stand still and wait for your character to consume it. It'll just instantly be consumed while you're doing whatever else you're doing. They've also gone ahead and completely removed ward stones, so that is no longer a mechanic in the game whatsoever, and you will no longer have kind of like an overheal shield mechanic based upon what type of armor you're wearing. Instead, they have something called Sanguine Hearts, which can be found around the map and are very clearly marked for you once you've discovered the zone that they're in. When you find them, you'll get an extra 10 maximum HP, and it seems like so far there's around 10 to 20 of these currently in the game, allowing you to get a pretty healthy amount of HP to play with. Overall, I think these are all great changes, and that's pretty much everything they've done in the current version of the game, but let's take a moment to talk about what will be changing in the next update coming in 12.1. So the developers actually address the fact that the combat does feel a bit clunky, and they're trying to remove that from the game. First up, they've noticed that blocking does not clearly or consistently reduce damage as you would expect it to, so they're going to be helping to clarify that in the future, I'm guessing with some kind of stat block on the shields and equipment related to it. They've also noted that stamina management overall can be quite challenging, so I'm guessing they're going to be nerfing that a little bit to make it a bit easier. Next, they want you to be able to quickly switch and cast more fluidly, so it doesn't take so long to switch from different magic types or arrows, and they've also made it so that different weapon specs should feel stronger against different enemies. And in case you didn't already know this, for an example in Melee, if you use a bone weapon against something like a zombie or a skeleton, you'll do more damage than you would with something that's a slashing weapon like a sword. This applies to a ton of different monsters in the game, but it looks like they're going to also try to apply it to range as well as magic. After that is that you can't actually move while casting spells, which it looks like they'll be changing too, and they want parrying to be more impactful. So instead of just doing a quick parry where they kind of get stunned for a brief moment, it looks like they want to give them a longer stun, giving you more damage that you can do. But most importantly, even though it may not be super related to combat, in this new patch they are planning to reduce fall damage in a number of different ways. Just to dive into the nitty-gritty about how they're actually planning to accomplish these things, they're planning to make it so that when you swap to a two-handed weapon and back to a one-handed, you'll automatically equip whatever was in your offhand before, so that you're not constantly switching between having to equip just the weapon, but also equipping the shield, taking up another hotbar slot. They're also planning to make it much easier for you to cycle through runes and arrows when you're mid-combat, so that you don't have to constantly open your inventory. I personally hope this isn't through the same wheel system we currently have, and they also plan about making this easier for people to access. For the fall damage side of things, which again, if you're anything like me, you've probably fallen and died many a times, they're planning to add a number of different ways to help absorb some of this, such as causing fall damage to only occur after you've fallen further down, rather than starting after only falling a few feet. They're also planning to add things like the leggings of lightness, mounts, and wind step, which should all briefly either make you completely unaffected by fall damage whatsoever, but they should make it, in my opinion, so that it's less impactful as well. When it comes to the actual combat though, they're also planning to make damage telegraph times a little bit more forgiving, especially when you're playing on a server that you are not the host of. In other words, when you look at enemies and they're winding up for their attacks, they're going to try to give you a little bit more time to prepare for it and make sure that you dodge out of the way. That way you don't get phantom hits where you feel like you dodged, but due to lag, you're actually still being hit by it on your account. As we'll be talking about moving while using spells, the ones we're currently planning to allow you to walk while casting, not run, are going to be Tempest Shield, Surge, Enchant Weapon, and Spectral Arrow. These are the four main ones that most people are using in combat, so you'll now be able to at least be slowly walking out of the way of enemies while doing it off, instead of just having to stand still for several seconds. It looks like you'll also be able to
come on,
a
motherfucker!
skill and add it to something
You wouldn't let me jump that fucking rim.
cast, just like you have in RuneScape, but just be aware this seems like it'll be limited to one spell, so hopefully they're also planning to add a combo opener for attacking and sprinting. I really hope they do this with damage as well, as it just sounds like a really cool concept to have a special sprint attack that does a special type of magic damage, or maybe like a sliding dash.
I'm trying to fix my graphics. Something's going on with the graphics. I wasn't even aware of. So my graphics got turned down at some point when I went back to like an older version of Fortnite. I don't know why you're in like 1920, but I guess yeah, but I don't know what that is. But anyway, so auto set open TSR Epic, TSR NVIDIA DLSS. I suppose DLSS is probably the best thing to do. Better. I want to play 4-player for a little while. I think that's fun.
By simply giving you 50% of your maximum
I've been
stamina
solo
back
for months.
every single time that you actually land a parry, along with also adding some kind of a cinematical attack related to it. I'm personally imagining like Skyrim, where you knock someone down, and if you've ever seen it with the mods, they like kind of do a quick slam on them, or knock them to the ground and then cut their head, whatever. You can imagine it. It's supposed to be a cinematic attack that makes it feel more rewarding to actually land those parries, and you can only do it after you've done a parry. Probably the biggest change is going to be the fact that you'll actually be able to do animation cancels for combat actions by blocking or dodging for spells, or by simply blocking and dodging for different magic attacks. We'll have to see how this plays out, but hopefully this will mean you won't feel like you're stuck in an animation when something's about to hit you, and you can instead dodge out. away. They've also stated that they will eventually be adding the special attack bar from old school RuneScape into Dragon Wilds, which if you're anything like me, you know that is super exciting, and I cannot wait to see how they're going to do that. I won't go too much into depth here, as if you haven't played RuneScape, this will make no sense, but just know it means that you'll have basically a limited rechargeable special attack that you can do every so often for a cool bonus effect. And finally, my personal favorite thing that they'll be adding to the game is going to be wands. And while I personally cannot think of any wands in old school RuneScape, this is supposed to allow you to have different attack patterns and apply more build-up.
Nice, I got a defib device. This is so wacky and weird. I don't have a gun, for one thing. I need a gun, I'm out of ammo. I need a gun. I have no ammo. I don't have any ammo. I need something. Yeah, I don't have anything. I'm the one who shot most of them. Please, ammo. Please, 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 please. I know I left you, but I didn't have anything. I'm out of ammo again. It's so annoying. I don't know what to do. Fucking annoying. I should ditch, but I don't want to. I don't have anything. I should ditch. It was out of ammo. God damn it. There's no ammo anywhere. Fuck, I should just ditch. I should just ditch. Fuck, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I don't know. I tried. Out of ammo, motherfucker. I don't know what to do. What was that? Fuck. Let's have ammo for this. Ooh, boots. That's perfect. What? That's funny. Wow. It wouldn't shoot at him because he was out of range. I can't believe how dumb this is. Oh god. Here it is. Wow. No, you jump. Shockwave, they're landing. Shockwave, you idiot. Shockwave. Shockwave. Oh god, can he do it? No, he can't do it here. He's got to go further. Yep. He's got to go way further. What? What was with that? Okay. How were you in front of him? How were you in front of that guy? Third place. No, I'll play again. Third place is fine. Fun as hell, I gotta say.
Up in knockdowns and throws and slows, and allow you to move more fluidly during combat. Personally, I think this is super exciting, as using staffs right now.
For years, pirate games have had well, a bit of a weird problem. Everyone knows that the idea is brilliant, you know, crafting, making ships, building a base on a remote island, fighting monsters and other crew, and of course, well, selling as much stuff as possible to become incredibly rich, yet somehow the genre has never quite had the obvious modern survival upgrade. Of course, we had Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which now has turned into a remaster that we're getting very, very soon. Then we had Sea of Thieves, which is kind of a co-op one. It kind of built upon this shared world sandbox. And then, of course, there was Skull and Bones, which existed. But in 2026, there was nothing. Until there finally was. Because Windrose suddenly... And it's just launched into early access, and boy has it changed the game ever. Within 48 hours, it sold 500,000 copies. Within 6 days, it passed 1 million, and by mid-May, it had hit 2 million copies. And this is not a AAA studio, this is a small indie team, and this is their first game. At its peak, over 220,000 people playing it on Steam at the same time. That's kind of insane. But the most interesting part is where it came from. Because it didn't actually start as Windrose. It started as a free-to-play pirate MMO. And now the behemoth that would normally be seen as some sort of over-ambitious concept is one of the most successful early access breakouts in the last 10 years. So, why did Windrose succeed? And how has it changed the game since it came out? This is a story to tell. Before we get to it though, please hit that subscribe button. We are so close to 200,000 subscribers, and I'm hoping I can miss it before everything goes down in tatters and I start crying because I've got nothing left to live for. Please help me. Crosswind was not really pitched in the same way. This was what it was called initially. The earlier version of the game had sort of a broader, more MMO-like identity. It was supposed to be a much larger multiplayer pirate experience, and at one stage it was kind of being discussed as a free-to-play project. On paper, pretty ambitious, maybe even exciting. Pirate MMO with survival mechanics and base building is the kind of thing that immediately, well, has the comparisons to Sea of Thieves, but is something that everybody actually needed and wanted for quite some time. But that kind of game comes with a bit of an issue. The free-to-play MMO is not just it's this live service machine, and as we've seen with titles like Skull and Bones, it can cause absolute havoc if you don't do it correct. People want pirates, but they don't want to be messed about. And for a relatively small team, doing something that was, I don't know, a large, open world, community management, anti-cheat, servers, monetization systems, everything is just going to go up in flames if they don't have the resources behind it. That's not just ambitious for a team the size of Windrose or Crosswind at the time. It's, well, that could break the whole studio. And they slowly realized this. The developers finally realized that the free-to-play model demanded too much. The MMO direction would require a much heavier service burden than the studio could realistically not support. So instead of trying to brute force their dream into existence, they did something a lot of studios should, well, probably do more often. They decided to scale it back, cut it down to the core of what they thought would be the best possible game. The team pivoted away from the free-to-play MMO and decided on the normal game of buy-to-play, PvE survival adventure. That decision was probably the single most important moment in Windrose's entire development story because, well, they didn't break out promising to be everything. They broke out because they were actually clear on what they wanted. This is actually such a good place compared to the disasters of something like Skull and Bones, because Skull and Bones didn't fail because it was free-to-play MMO. It failed because there wasn't enough content to keep people around, and people just didn't actually get the game they wanted. The advertising was completely off. What was promised was a survival game, and what people actually got was, well, an on-rails, weird live service monetization engine with a pirate skin on it. And, well, Windrose didn't want to do that. So in December 2025, Crosswind officially was rebranded as Windrose. The new version, a PvE-focused survival pirate game, built around exploration, crafting, base building, naval combat, co-op, most importantly, and progression. They kind of described their game as like
Well,
a
you
Assassin's
learned it
Creed
everywhere
Blackfire meets
else. I don't know
Valheim.
what you thought
And
was
that
going to happen.
combination made a lot of sense and also got a lot of people hyped because Valheim was such a successful title made by a small team, a co-op open world adventure title, and Windrose is basically the pirate version of that. So, how did it go about? Well, Windrose initially launched as the demo, as we all know. During the Steam Next Fest, it became one of the top demos of all time. According to the stats, the game pulled more than 800,000 demo players, 1.5 million wishlists, and received thousands of reviews before the
It ended up being this PvE Dark Souls game, but they promised that it would be a Rust game, which is why it got all that interest. I came into it thinking it was going to be like that. Nope, not even close. I bought it thinking it was going to be like that, but it was only 30 bucks. So I was just like, I know this game's good for 30 bucks, and it was. It was fun as hell. Three people? No, three other people. Where to, folks? I suggest we go to Sinister Strip. Where do you want to go? You want to go to Monkey Land? Okay. Seems fun. So immediately yellow goes south. Check. Yeah, I'm not like live or anything down, no. There's that guy. There's somebody landing there. Okay, I'm gonna get covered here and get a armor up. Move to Striding Swan. Oh, maybe actually I'll go to that guy. Oh. Gotcha. Yeah. What is that? That's not too good. That's not too good. This is the wackiest game I've ever played. Stole their truck from them. Stole this truck from this poor man. How delightful! I stole their truck from them. They just slapped me. Of course they do. What can they do? Maybe they'll win. Maybe he can just res us all. Oh, nice. Thank you. Can we shoot him? No? Should have shot his ass. Oh, good. Switch to your assault rifle. Switch to the assault rifle. What are you doing? You do this match over there. I'm mad at you. Shoot them. Shoot them. That was a bad shot. Nice, nice, nice shot. Shoot him with the assault rifle. Shoot him with the assault rifle. What are you doing? They're rezzing. Well, you can't aim. You cannot aim. You cannot aim. You shouldn't have tried. Maybe use the assault rifle? We're going to res on you now. Nope. I believe in you. Here they come. They're right on top of you. Oh god. What did we do here? Yeah, just snipe them all. I mean, I'm down. If that's your strength, snipe them. I would have taken a push, maybe. Nope. Now you're about to be shot. Yep. Use the assault rifle. Oh. Let's try second place. Nice try. Second place.
game even launched. That is absolutely absurd.
This
For
game
most
was so
titles, a demo
clunky.
is a marketing
Yeah, look,
asset.
this
It gives
is
players
how
a
the
taste.
battle was.
But Windrose, well, it became a launch pad. You got hours and hours out of that demo. In fact, you could play it for as long as you goddamn wanted. And this is where the studio deserves some credit. They watched the numbers go back, and then they decided that they would actually respond. Research notes mention several changes directly tied into the demo feedback. Co-op cannon manning, more varied loot, testing the move from 4-player to 8-player co-op, hold together, an FOV slider, DLSS, FSR support, controller improvements, so many things like the building and targeting refinements. This is the kind of stuff that actually makes players trust the developers, because the launch version started to reflect. Early access is now out, and I've been playing around with it. It came out a couple of months ago, and, well, the numbers were amazing. With 14 hours, 500,000 copies. With 6 days, 1 million. By the end of April, 1.5 million. A month later, 2 million copies. 222,000 current players. That is one of the biggest game launches of all time, and this is a goddamn indie title. And what makes this especially interesting is that this is not an established IP, not even a sequel to a beloved franchise. It's not backed by decades of nostalgia, not even having any name recognition. It was just a rebranded survival game from a team most people hadn't heard of. So why did it hit so? What made it so successful? I think there are a few reasons. First, the fantasy was immediately understandable. Pirate game, build base, sail ship, fight enemies, explore islands, done, sorted. People want that. And the market was there. People have wanted a massive pirate game for years, and there was a big feeling that the publishers had kind of abandoned it, or they just misunderstood it after things like Atlas and Skull and Bones. Then there was the perfect time. The demo was an actual genius move. Games don't do demos anymore, and I don't understand why, because Windrose wouldn't have been the success it was without that free version. Beyond to the fact that they had so much game within that demo. This is where a lot of them go wrong. A slight taster which might get people on board, but having a demo where you could put 10, 20 hours into it meant that people were already addicted before the early access actually started. Players got so much within it. Then when the early access came out, there were 3 new biomes, which meant that the actual improvements were substantial. All of this gave players enough to believe the foundation was real, and this is why people have not started to buy it yet. It doesn't feel like you're testing an early access, it feels like you are buying into one of the biggest survival games ever, and I goddamn love it. But the core appeal of Windrose is not that difficult to understand. It sells one of the gaming's most reliable fantasies, leaving the shore behind and heading into danger, setting up your own bases and being able to travel between multiple islands. There are no limitations to where you can build, just your resources and how many players. The combat is pretty goddamn cool, it does nothing like it means, but it is really being able to actually go and explore an open world which stretches for miles. Windrose does this with pirates, the ships, the island, the shanties, the cannons, the boarding systems. That just taps into the basic human desire to stand at the front of the boat and pretend that, well, you're having
We just two-man wrecked the team, and it
Right.
was mostly
And
me.
then there's that co-op element. Games are often at their best when they become shared stories. You know, crashing the ship. Someone gets launched by a ball. Someone insists they know what they're doing, and then they get everybody killed. Windrose understands it. The game's funniest and most memorable moves were not a system. They were trying to go to an enemy base that was way too strong for you and you get absolutely destroyed. Or it was you and your mate's ship colliding in mid-sea. And its entire success came through this. The stories. Not necessarily every tiny bit of finished content, because it's not the most polished game, but the moments that you have afterwards. Let's talk about that real perception, actually getting into it. On Steam, the players' response has been very strong in terms of numbers. Reviews, 85% positive, pretty goddamn good. The game did not just have launch day hype, but actually retained a positive player base after, and it's still pretty strong numbers now. Now, of course, solo play feels a little bit rough, the combat's not perfect. It is still enough to get.
Yeah, the combat wasn't perfect, and that was what I was there for. I was looking for some kind of combat game, but it did have a lot of promising things to it. I liked it, but it felt like a kid's game to me a little bit. They have to take risk now. They're terrified of it. Lose some people. Take some risk. Who cares if some people don't want your game? Alright.
Get tens of hours in for a game that is admittedly still pretty cheap compared to any sort of AAA title. And then it comes on to how the developers decided to deal with all of these criticisms and issues. Instead of rushing out big content updates to keep the hype train going, they focused on stability, performance, and save systems. And this is definitely the wrong way, because when a game sells 2 million copies in a month, a lot of people are going to burn through the content extremely quickly. Some people will put in 50, 60, 80, 100 hours almost immediately and then think, where's the next buy? But, well, they basically said the first major main content will be Nick's Lands, which is the last. And it's going to be the next expansion. But the studio have warned it will take 6 months from late April to May. This is a long wait for early access. I think the interesting point is to see, I don't think people are going to get bored. People might, come back on it later when the update comes out, but for now there is still enough content for people to keep going, especially when you have that opportunity for co-op. You see, the game is procedurally generated, so every map that you play is entirely different. The missions are the same, but the ships or the loot will be in different places, or your buildings, if you're just doing the open world survival, will be completely unique. So why did Windrose become the hit it did? And I think the answer is a combination of 5 things. First, it had a clear idea. Pirate survival adventure, instantly understandable. You don't need a 10-minute explanation or a massive tutorial here. You just need one screenshot of a ship, a storm, and a base on an island, and you completely understand what you're going to get with this game. Second, it entered a market without obvious demand. Skull and Bones is out the water. Atlas is sort of dead in a ditch. And of course, as much as we have Assassin's Creed Black Flag resynced, that is almost an entirely different beast at this point. Players wanted a modern pirate game that wasn't just naval menus or live service content or chaos, and Windows offered something that was grounded and great. And then, of course, the main point. The demo did enormous amounts. Steam Next Fest gave players the confidence before launch. It wasn't just marketing, it wasn't just trailers or promises or demos, it was actual hands-on gameplay that people could understand what they were doing, and it was polished with content rich enough that people could play it back. I mean, people were playing that demo all the way to see actual early access release, and then the developers reacted quickly. The feedback to feature pipeline before launch, the technical fixes, these helped build trust, and very importantly, it arrived with enough content to feel worth it. Because you do have to put it worth it, and if it didn't come with enough content it did, I think people would be a lot less happy. So can it last? Well, it kind of already did. You see, the studio says early access will last around a year and a half to 2 years, and that's a pretty long time, but as long as they keep fixing the base game and adding a few different bits of issues, they have the attention. The universe has been well, Crosswind sounded like it was too far. They then dialed it back to some bits and more, but focused on what the actual sound points were. They then refined it to a point where they knew exactly what players wanted and released at the time with a huge gap in the mind. Went from an over-ambitious animation course to one of the most clear examples of what happens when the developer makes that decision to focus up and build a game from the beginning. Which is something that, funny enough, is so gaming industry. Of course, we are just in the early access, so the real voyage actually starts right now. But I'm already following every step of the way, so please hit that subscribe button until then, I'll see you in the next video.
And look, he ducked. He ducked again. Oh, I'm dead. Where's he going? He went home. He went into his house. This is Morrowind. Lock picking. Let's break into Fargoth's house.
No! God, please, no! No!
This video is brought to you by Incognito. Alright, so it's Christmas Eve, alright, 2022, 2023, and I'm with the fam. We're hanging out, we're chatting, we're enjoying ourselves, but we got to that point where you kind of like run out of things to say, you know? You've done taxes and politics, and it's in that moment that obviously you play a board game, naturally. So we go to the shelf, we see what we have, and we have Monopoly, okay, Catan, great games, but too intense. So my sister pulls out her electronic telephone device, and she shows us Amazon Prime. Okay, my mum, she has not seen Amazon Prime in her life. She doesn't know what it is. And my sister shows her Monopoly deal. And when you scroll down a little bit, you see the words same day delivery. Christmas Eve, remember? Same day delivery. And so what do? We click buy. Anyway, so by 6 o'clock, we hear a knock, knock, knockety, knock, knock on the diddly door. And we open the door, and there's a man there. And he goes, hi. I'm like sort of drunk, and I say, Merry Christmas, mate. And he, you know, obviously stares me cold in the eye and says nothing. He hands me the card game, takes the card game, and I say, thanks. And he leaves. So we play the game, it's great. Jeff Bezos and this poor bastard has saved Christmas. And there's a moment, right? And I know this video is gonna be me complaining about Amazon Prime and concluding we should probably ban some of these online settings. However, I couldn't help when it was in my hands. I could smell it. I genuinely did think, wow, Amazon Prime is amazing. And it's this, right, this contradiction, which will make someone in the audience pop up and go, well, Jimmy, you claim you don't like Amazon, but you still use it. I don't think you don't like it, because if you didn't like it, you wouldn't use it. Amazon's not to blame, but you are. There is a hypocrisy. We use these things because it's convenient. And I think before I can sort of justify and criticize them, I think we need to start our analysis here by answering the question, does our participation in exploitative businesses and services, does it morally justify the existence of that thing?
We should improve society somewhat.
Yet you participate in society. Period. I'm very intelligent.
This is a sneaky argument. You hear it a lot, right? Whenever you criticize anything technological or business, if you say, oh, I think, guys, actually, kids mining cobalt so that we can have phones is a bad thing. Someone else will say, but you use a phone. And then I go, yeah, I guess you're right. Back to work, kiddo. This argument poises that actually the market and the businesses, they are amoral. They're just the supply. However, it is our choice. We, the demand, are to blame. So let's interrogate this a little bit. Is it all our fault? Like, what we have to do, we have to look at humans, okay? So here's a human. Do you like this one? Not that one? All right. This one. It's all right? Okay, fine. When we study humans and how they behave, we are kind of, sort of lazy. We're lazy in that we opt for energy efficient things. I mean, that's what I tell my wife when I don't do the dishes. Darling, I'm just being energy efficient. It's not necessarily that we are fundamentally lazy. It is that we pick, if given two options, we will pick the option that is the least effort, right? Makes sense. And biologically, it would be because we would prioritize reserving our energy. You know, energy is a scarce resource, and that is why my bedroom is a mess. But on top of that, there's another thing, which is not only do we pick the most efficient thing, but we also pick the thing that is kind of like good enough. You know, there's a term I learned very recently from a YouTuber, Unlearning Economics. We had him on the podcast. We talked about this. Go check it.
What was the word? Scarce. Satisficing. Sorry, satisficing's from Herbert Simon.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of good enough.
But what it means is generally, if I want a sandwich and I have two options, one is the best sandwich ever on earth ever made. Gordon Ramsay approved it, but it's at the top of a mountain. If at the base camp of the mountain there's a Pret a Manger and they do an all right cheese toasty, likely I'm picking the cheese toasty. Yeah, it's good enough. And so it's here where things like fast fashion, fast food, TikTok doom scrolling, all these kind of things, they are sort of a natural extension
Convenience
of that
is king now.
human characteristic. However, okay,
Don't slow
whilst
us
that's true,
down.
what that analysis misses is that it doesn't take into account that different people have different amounts of energy, both physical and mental energy. So to explain my point, what we're going to do, we're going to travel to Brighton, okay?
We're in Brighton, so that's only fucking right.
Come on, my boy.
We're in Brighton, so that's only fucking right.
Before we go any further with this video, I've been using today's sponsor, Incogni, for a while now. And I was pretty surprised to find out that my personal data was just sitting there available on the internet. My full name, old addresses, and even family info. Luckily, thanks to Incogni, I didn't have to spend days and days knocking on doors, emailing to try and get my data taken down. Instead, with just a click of a button, Incogni handled it all. Every single month, Incogni gives me an update showing me how many of the data brokers have actually removed my data. Honestly, it's great just having the peace of mind not having to worry about this anymore. But what's worse, and people often don't talk about this, is having your data out there on the internet like this can actually have negative real-life consequences. Say you're applying for a job and they choose to Google your name, which they do, and some bastard set up a fake dating profile on some strange website with your picture and your name attached. That might cost you a job, or if you're trying to rent a flat, the same sort of thing. And that is literally costing you opportunity. Incogni takes care of all of this risk by wiping your personal data from people's search sites, shady directories. As well, they've recently launched a new feature, which is custom data removals. So if you find your data on a random website, you can just copy the link, paste it into Incogni, and Incogni's privacy team will just take care of it for you. Unlimited requests, unlimited peace of mind. So if you're ready to take your privacy back and stop dodgy dudes dealing with your data, head over to incogni.com/Jimmy the Giant, and you can use the code Jimmy the Giant to get 60% off their annual plan. That is unlimited data removal requests handled by experts. Take your personal data back with Incogni. Anyway, back to the video. I think I've become like a Brighton propagandist. I don't know. They should pay me. They're not. But they should. But like Brighton stands out to me because it is the opposite of like convenience culture. When you think of towns that are just like fast food, gambling places, vape places, the typical stereotype, and then there's like an Amazon warehouse and etc. Brighton really stands out as like the inversion of convenience culture. And what I mean by that is like if you toddle down the street, it is just small shops that are super neat. You have vinyl shops, you have like, there's one shop that sells old vintage film posters, another one that sells like bonsai trees. You know, you could order all this shit online if you wanted to, but Brighton somehow manages to exist where this is like the makeup of the area. Whilst obviously it is more convenient and efficient to order a 6-pack of socks from ASOS that arrives at your door next day. In Brighton, people like literally they opt to go to a place called Socktopus and spend like 45 minutes picking out like a cute little pet.
My first idea is a shop that only sells socks. I don't think that's been done in Brighton yet. I'm thinking about calling it Sockpocalypse or maybe Socktopus or something like that.
I think that's been done.
Ah, of course it's been done. It's Brighton.
This obviously flies in the face of the idea that humans only opt for convenience. Because what Brighton and places like it, what they're doing, what they offer is something more, a value that is above convenience, which is, you know, atmosphere, environment, sociability. I walk into the coffee shop and I talk to the guy about what new beans he's got, and he goes, oh, this one's kind of got like a hint of cherry. And we go, oh, ha, 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 ha. We chuckle. And then I wobble on down to like a board game shop and buy a board game that I could buy on Amazon, but I like the guy. I like him. The atmosphere, right? Vibes. I'm a vibe fan. And it's this, right? It's the vibe, it's the atmosphere. It's also the knowledge, the expert knowledge of shopkeepers. These are values that Amazon just can't offer you. And so with that in mind, these places that exist, places like Brighton, if we contrast Brighton with a dead high street, does Brighton just exist because, you know, us Brightonians are superior, sophisticated individuals? Or is it because there's, like, more money in Brighton? I'm going to give you a hint. It's the second one. A lot of the money just comes from fucking people who get burnt out in London. They've worked in the city, they're tired, they did all the, you know, climbing the career ladder, and then they go, fuck this, I'm moving to Brighton, and I'm going to open an artisan fish and chip cat cafe that sells sea shanty vinyls, okay? This sort of influx of Londoners move into Brighton, and also tourists, right? It's 1 hour train from London, so all these rich Londoners come to Brighton, they spend their money here. It has earned itself the nickname Little London as well. There's a university, there's a lot of young blood, a lot of culture. Brighton really exists as this kind of exception to the rule, as it is a bubble of young middle class money. So what is happening here is really important in this conversation. We have to kind of zoom in a little bit, right? Okay. And that is, there is a contradiction to this claim. You know what I said, that little thing I said about humans being energy efficient? Well, there is a phenomenon whereby when people have more money and they're wealthier, when they're middle class, they start to actually opt for the opposite of convenience. It's like an anti-convenience culture trend that happens when you get a bit of money, right? Who's doing the sour bread dough classes? Who's going to artisan farm shops? Who's making a little garden in their house? Who's raising like chickens in the garden? They're growing their own veg, right? Who is it? Let's be honest. It's middle class wankers. I'm sorry, you're not wankers. You're fine. It's middle class Michael and Susan. You know it is, right? And the reason being, there is a reason. It isn't because they're superior. It's because with a little bit more money and they like immediate needs met, like not constantly living in survival mode, that money buys them this additional energy, this mental energy, this physical energy. That money buys them that. They're not coming in from an 8-hour shift and then going to another job whilst they have to somehow raise a kid. They're not doing that. Their lives are a bit calmer. And in that is a space, right?
Gonna try and win a solo
energy,
match
a bit more relaxed. And by having that, middle class people tend to opt for less convenient things.
Join us as we catch up with those who bought their dream home.
Wow, that's why we love the Wye Valley.
Yeah. To find out how the move changed their lives when they escaped to the country.
Like if you think about the old retired pensioners, the common stereotype is that they move to some rural, idyllic place and try and raise a farm. There's a whole TV show on it. It happens so often. They don't relocate to be next to McDonald's. And actually, culturally, there starts to become this sort of classist attitude where some will actually start to look down on, you know, convenience culture and they consider it low taste. And this is all because having wealth buys you an element of stability in your life. There's a famous chart where you look at how much money someone has and how happy they tend to be. And it is around about the 6-figure salary mark whereby they are at their happiest. And it's all because they are living not in survival mode. They have an extra resource of energy and effort that is not afforded to people who are living on the bread. And so when you have more of these people consolidated in an area like Brighton, when more of these people exist in a space, then the market adapts to it. The lived environment shapes around that culture. And so not everyone in Brighton obviously is wealthy, but if there's enough of them here, then the culture adapts to it and the lived environment shapes around that. So if that's what happens when you have a load of middle class people in a place, then the flip side, if you have lots of people who do not have money, but not only don't have money, but also don't have time and energy, then the lived environment shapes around that. The market shapes around that. The high street becomes dead. There's not many independent local businesses and artisans. It's more likely just going to be chains, supermarkets, fast food, gambling shops, etc. And it's not just about being poor, it's about being time poor. And that's the really important point, is that the time poverty and the mental exhaustion of living in an insecure life where you're worried about bills, worried about if you're going to get fired from your job. If you're in that fear all the time, you are going to be drawn more towards convenience culture because it saves you on that effort. It saves you a little bit of time. You don't have the time to go to a farm shop to pick out your fruit and then walk on over to a bakery to get some fresh bread. The market sells you consumer, quick and convenient culture. And so this over time, over generations, if you grow into this culture, then that becomes all you know. It's all you understand. And it's what you will typically then opt for. But what's really interesting to me is there's like a built-in contradiction because whilst on the surface, things like Amazon, Temu, Shein, they might seem convenient. The idea you click a button, buy something super cheap, it comes to your door very quickly. That seems convenient, but it's only convenient if it doesn't have competition. Because moving to Brighton from Milton Keynes, which was a city that was very much built on like efficiency, supermarkets, chains, all this kind of stuff, I actually find that living here, where I live, where it's a walk to a lot of independence, like a 5-10 minute walk, I actually find I don't use online shopping nearly as much as I used to, right? When I was back in Milton Keynes, I'd always order stuff because I didn't really like going to the centre. The centre being built around efficiency, but having none of that vibe and culture and the feeling that you get. You find that here, because the high street is so enjoyable, I use it. And it actually becomes more convenient because when I'm ordering clothes online, the amount of times it comes and the material is crap or I have to return it and I lose money because I forget to return it. Here I can just go to a clothes shop that I know is going to be good. I know they do my style and I can just try it on. Like I don't have to faff around. And it's the same for like food products. I can go to butchers and stuff very close to me. I can just walk there and it's more convenient than doing online ordering. Instead of using online services like Vistaprint when I want to print something out for my wife's business, we just go to like the local guy who's 10 minutes away, and they can sometimes do it on the same day. It's actually quicker. It's more convenient. When you have a marketplace that can support this local independent scene of businesses and services, they're actually often much more convenient than online shopping. The difference here, and this is the point I want to land on in this bit, is that online shopping isn't necessarily more convenient. I would argue it's only more convenient if you live in a place in which real competition to online shopping has been robbed from you by killing a high-functioning, high-quality high street. And it's this, right? This is what people like Jeff Bezos, this is what they understood before all of us, when we were getting swept up, ordering our next day, same day deliveries. Whilst we were doing that, Jeff Bezos understood that if he could kill off the competition, then he could dominate. So this is the second argument that people tend to make, right? They go, okay, I get that, but still at the end of the day, like, Amazon just won because it's better, and that's how it works, right? You know, if they offer a better product, then it's gonna win, okay? And again, like the last argument, it's more complicated than that. Okay, so Amazon didn't just win because it was better. Amazon was it came along in a very specific context, a very important period of history, and has sort of been enabled where really it shouldn't. So Amazon spawns out, you know, it's been around 2000s, probably late 90s, I think. But really it was like post-financial crisis where they could really expand. They went insane because after the financial crisis, central banks offered 0%, basically 0% interest rates on these massive loans, okay? The idea was, you know, that the whole economy's collapsed, so if we make it really incentivizing for startup companies, big capitalists to borrow money, then what they'll do, they'll take that money, to make us really great stuff. Okay, so in this era, you get Amazon, you get Uber, you get Facebook, you get all these platforms come out of this environment where they can borrow money for cheap, and very importantly, they don't have to make profit because borrowing was so cheap. It incentivized this new kind of era of business, which was basically have a top knot and like a long beard and glasses, go to some fucking rich bro and sort of go, hey guys, cool millennial here. Am I right? Listen here, boomer. I've got an epic win for you. Invest into my online digital algorithmatized smart intellectual product and I'll make you a bitch load of money. And all these big fat rich men go, okay, take my money. So with a boatload of basically free money, all these platforms did was look at the current landscape, with their competition, and go, well, we could just fucking destroy them. So if I'm Amazon, I can sell products way below the market rate, impossibly cheap, to a price that, you know, shops can't afford to do, and will offer next day delivery. Uber does the same, where he looks at taxis and he goes, ah, this is cute. Ah, look at the black cab with the yellow thing, that's nice. Fuck you. Fuck everything. It's my time, daddy. And so they price, like, taxi trips way below the market rate. And this puts the competition in a bind, where they go, either we just die because everyone's going to opt for the competitor, or we join them. The taxi drivers are incentivized to jump onto Uber, and then, you know, warehouses and sellers are incentivized to jump onto effectively killing the genuine competition. And what this does is very important. Is, you know, when I was saying like stuff about like people opt for energy efficient things, this is true, but there is like another caveat to that, where like, okay, so you know your dad, right? You know him, or you don't, and I'm sorry, it's uncomfortable now. But say you know your dad, and your dad's doing like long drives, and for a period of time, I know that your dad, instead of using Google Maps, he would rely either on his knowledge of the roads or a map. And you would go, Dad, it's obviously insane. Like, why don't you just use Google Maps? You just type in the postcode and it tells you where to go. You don't have to worry. Like, why are we stopping at a petrol station to ask this poor bastard where Fligglesmead Fishing Factory is? Just type it into Google. And here's the thing, there's an irony, is that even though you might be presented with two options, which is an efficient version of the thing you're doing, aka Google Maps, versus an inefficient thing, which is physical maps. If your whole life has been spent on the physical map, there becomes a sort of switch over process, which also requires energy. Us humans are really fucking lazy, I'll be honest. It's why they say, like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's like, it costs energy and effort for someone to change their habits and behaviors. So what Amazon and these platforms do by undercutting the competition and undercutting them on price is what it does. It resets our consumer behavior and our expectation. So whilst the high street was already struggling after the financial crisis, the secondary big impact was the pandemic, because what it did, it took a lot of older people who previously never really did much online shopping. They mainly shopped in high street still, and because they couldn't go to the high street, it forced them to learn how to shop online. It like forced a change in consumer habits towards online shopping. Okay, us young lot, we grew up on these platforms, so it wasn't that hard for us to get onto them to buy things. For us, the allure was convenience, because we already use these platforms, and price. And like, there's a double-edged sword to the price thing, because what Amazon did, like us growing up using Amazon, conditioned us to perceive products as a certain value. And for us, right, growing into this environment, it changed our expectations on price to a level that I would argue, like, wasn't a good thing. Like, if you take something like a pair of shoes, realistically speaking, a pair of shoes shouldn't probably cost you 40, 50 quid. There's so much labor that goes into making a good quality pair of shoes. It's more like 100 to 200 plus. But when I was young, my cap on shoes was probably somewhere between 40 and 50, 60 quid. And so you spread this across the board, right? If you get used to a certain price point that Amazon offers you, and then you go to a high street and you see that the prices are actually higher, and this reconditions our minds on how we perceive values of things. And so the high street just can't keep up with that, because Amazon is able, because of these 0% interest rates, able to force down the price below what really the market should be pricing it at. And eventually this kills the high street. It kills a realistic competition.
Americans love to buy, but getting shoppers into traditional malls and stores is becoming a hard sell. Shopping centers turning into ghost towns as consumers shift to online shopping.
I think the discounts that online is offering outbeat the store, and therefore, again, consumers aren't shopping at the mall anymore.
And so it's in that moment, right, where Jeff Bezos looks at it, you know, he's the dead bodies of BHS and Topshop and whatever else, where he looks around and he goes, ha 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 ha. And he goes to his big control board and he looks at the knob that says prices on it, and he goes, it's time. And he twists that baby up, all right, twists it, right, like he's giving you a nipple cripple, because he turns that baby up. Now, at this point, Amazon, once it's controlled the market, once it's killed the competition, Amazon can do something very evil, which is jack the fucking prices up back to, if not higher than the prices were in the high street.
And we're the
this
ones
is
who
what
suffer.
you can do when you are a giant monopoly. You can do things like this, anti-competitive things. They have a policy on Amazon which is called, ironically, the fair pricing policy, which means that when you sell a product on Amazon, you have to, like, by contract, give Amazon your cheapest price. So if I'm selling mugs with a giant picture of my face on it, I can't sell that, like, by law, in a corner shop for cheaper. I can't do that. I have to give Amazon the cheapest price. And that could sound okay. Okay, that means Amazon always gets the cheapest price. But what if Jeff Bezos starts being a nasty prick? What if he starts saying, you know, we charge you like a selling fee. What if Jeff Bezos goes back to the control board and then he turns the selling fees button up, right? So when you sell a product on Amazon, now you have to actually pay a larger percentage to Amazon than you did in the past. That means that everywhere else you sell the product also has to raise its price. Amazon is directly contributing to inflation across the board every time it raises its fees on its sellers. So all of that is to say, no, Amazon didn't just win because it is simply better. They won because they're cheeky pricks.
11 down, 6 up. Wish me luck. the fuck? Why did I drop my other potion? For some reason. My eyes hurt. I might lose because of that, of course, with 3 people left, 2 people left. We'll see. What? Where's the other fucking guy? Where is he? Oh, damn it, my eyes hurt so bad in this match, right at the end, too. It hurts so bad. Oh, much better. Oh, damn it. Why do my eyes have to hurt the last 2 minutes? What the fuck is that, man? Wow. Hi, kitty. Try again.
They used anti-competitive business practices, they undercut their competition, killed off the competition, shifted consumer behavior and expectations of price, and then once they had captured all of the customers, once they got them all on their platform, and once they got all the sellers on their platform, it just started raising the prices on them because you ain't got anywhere else to fucking go. And I say all this, right, and I'm sat here going, that is awful and evil, but I cannot help but think, fucking hell, they're smart. I couldn't come up with that. That's genius. To do all of that, right? I'm just a little fucking mouse, and Amazon is the cheese on the mouse trap. You know, it was really nice. Oh, there's a bit of cheese. Bang! your neck has been obliterated by the weight of Amazon Prime. Now look, whilst I can say all this, the thing about online shopping is that it is a double-edged sword, right? So we have to really separate online shopping from online selling platforms. They're two different distinct things, right? My wife is an online seller, and I'm very proud of her, right? She made this whole business where she sells ceramic goods that are made in Ukraine, delivered by Ukrainians, and sold here in the UK. She does that, and she puts so much work into it, bless her. If you want to make your partner really happy, buy something, it would also make my wife really happy. And I love that. I love that the internet, in some ways, has allowed people to take their hobbies, their passions, and their craft, and able to reach massive audiences that in the past they might not have been able to do. That is an amazing thing. However, my wife is able to do that without using selling platforms like Amazon and Etsy because she has her own audience on Instagram. When it comes to more people like her who do a similar thing, who don't have audiences, they have to use things like Etsy, TikTok Shop, and maybe Amazon. But really, Etsy is quite an important one because Etsy, it prided itself in the beginning. It came out and it was like, hey guys, we know Amazon sucks, all this shit quality. We are here for the artisans. All right, the quality premium selling platform. That was what Etsy was.
One Jeff should not rule commerce. There are over 5,000 Jeffs on Etsy. Real people making real things.
I'm Jeff. I'm Jeff. I'm Jeff too.
Shop non-billionaire Jeffs. Etsy.
And so what does it do? It gets all the hobbyists, all of the creators to come on its platform. Makes it really good in the beginning. Goes, hey, come in. We got fucking lemonade, right? Low fees. It's where all the customers are. And then it slams the door and goes, right, get in the fucking cage. And you go, oh, Etsy, I thought we were chill. Etsy be like, no, we ain't chill, homie. As time went past, Etsy started to become more algorithmatized, you know? So you start competing on the position on how high you are on the search. And you could, if you wanted to, pay to be at the top of the search. So instead of just, you know, if I type in, oh, I want a chair that looks like a can of Coke. In the past, where it might have just given you the best option for that, now it gives you all the ones that are paying to be at the top. And as well, obviously, they too increase the fees on their sellers. And what that means is the margin for the sellers goes down. In the past, they used to make a lot of money. Now they have to compete on getting the price really low. It's exactly what Amazon done. So yeah, this platform that originally prided itself on being like, yeah, anti-Amazon is now flooded with drop shippers, AI designed products, resellers, print on demands, and mass produced stuff that pretends to be artisan.
Competing with people who are generating art via artificial intelligence now, I can't compete. It's just junk, a lot of it.
You're just going to be a slightly more expensive Amazon? That seems like a terrible business plan.
I like Temu and Shane. I mean, holy fuck, man. This is just the whole thing on steroids. They turned the damn thing into a casino. You go on Temu and it's like, you think you're gonna fucking, you got these wheels spinning around like, oh, win big. They made it. So you go in and you come out fucking sweating with a high blood pressure, spinning wheels, countdown timers. The whole thing is literally just gambling mechanics on a shop to make you feel like that you're winning some secret price that no one else can get. And this is the thing. This is the whole thing. It's like, whilst in the early days, Amazon really felt amazing. It really did feel good. It was like, wow, they're offering good products at a cheap price. And I think the mistake we made as civilization was thinking that the convenience and those low prices were just coming from nowhere. They were just feeling friendly. It was just a really good deal. But the thing is, what Amazon saved us in time and price, it took from somewhere else. It took from your high street. It took from the workers, their salary. It took from the delivery drivers. You've heard the story of them pissing in bottles, right? That guy who delivered me my cards on Christmas Eve, he probably had like a 4-litre bottle of piss in the truck. The poor bugger. We all hear about the warehouse workers and their insane, strict time schedules. They're not allowed to talk to each other, look each other in the eye in case it costs 1 nanosecond of efficiency. And we've heard about the union busting. The way that cheap platforms are able to be cheap is by squeezing more out of its workers, its sellers, and out of you. Here's the thing that people don't really realize is that actually these platforms, when you zoom out a bit, they actually take from you, really. So if you look at like lifespan of products, everyone knows the story. It's like your dad goes, oh, I've had my washing machine since the 60s and it still works. And yours has died after 4 years. right? There's a reason for that. And it's well documented. You know, lifespans of products are on the way down. There's a study that shows that washing machines and ovens, the lifetime on those products are down. Washing machines down by 45% since the 90s to 2000s. Ovens are down 39%. The lifetime of these products are shrinking. What does that mean? That means you have to replace them by buying another one. Smartphones, TVs, washing machines, and vacuum cleaners on average survive about 2.3 years less than either their designed or desired lifetimes.
Fragile components that break down too quickly, an inconvenient leak about the limited lifetime of a computer, a lack of reliable statistical data. Obsolescence, more or less subtly programmed, comes in many forms. In recent years, a new trend is emerging, making repairs of a product impossible or very difficult.
And the point I'm really trying to land on is what this environment, these business practices do to our psychology. Us as, I don't want to think myself as this, but a consumer. Jeff Bezos would be very happy I referred to myself as that. I'm a human, goddammit! Lower value human capital. These platforms have changed our expectations on price and quality. The truth is, and this isn't something we want to hear, but the reality is some things are just not meant to be cheap. Some things cost money. Like fast fashion is where we see this a lot, whereby although clothes may have got cheaper, what's really happened is we just buy more clothes because of it, because the quality has got shitter. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation found that in just 15 years, clothing production roughly doubled, while the amount of time clothes were actually worn fell by 40%. So we make twice as much, but we almost wear them half as long. Wrap found the average UK adult owns around 118 items of clothing, and 31 of them have not been worn in the past year. Much of what we interpret as savings on prices has really just actually been a result of shifting the labor onto you. What I mean by that is, right, if you go to a normal shop, you walk into the high street shop and it's like a hardware shop, and you look around and they've only got an amount of shelves. You know, there's a certain amount of shelves for the space they're in, and there's a certain amount of products. When you go on Amazon, it's endless, right? The shelf is as long as the internet is. It's infinite, okay? And there might be a few, and you might think in your head, well, that's great because Amazon offers more variety. But the difference is, in the high street shop, someone had to choose the items on the shelf, and it took them time to do that. And when they chose which products to go on the shelf, they would select things that had good quality so that you don't return it. Much of what we believe we are saving on price and on time is actually just a result of the labor being shifted onto us. So let's think about it, right? You want to order a super duper air fryer that also makes you an espresso and massages your feet. So you go on to Amazon, you type it in, you say air fryer, massage feet, espresso. Okay, now you've got a list of results. So you don't know which one to pick. So you look at the top one, which has been paid to be there. It's actually probably not the best one. I think the best one is meant to be about 17 lines down or something. You click on it, and then you now read the reviews. You read the rating, most of which are fake, by the way. So you're actually just reading what ChatGPT has been told to tell you about the product. And then you have to work out, is the seller legit? You know, is this a scam product or is it real? And then you order it, right? You're happy. Oh, yeah. Delivery's coming next day. You go to bed, you wake up, and you get the text.
What? Come on, I said you would throw the grenade! You would throw the grenade! I tried 3 times! You won't throw that grenade! I keep like, throw. Please throw the grenade when I tell you to. You know you faltered and didn't throw it. What's with this guy? He was fucking invincible. What's with this guy? Why was he invincible? What the fuck was this jack off shit? I put 5 mags in his invincible ass. What the fuck was that? Come on, you and your piece of shit mechanics you don't explain to anybody. Fucking loser ass piece of shit developer. Come on, man, I was doing fine until I came up against a guy who ate 5 mags. Because you have to add retardation to your game on purpose. Fucking idiot ass developer. What was that, man? I had all gold weapons. I was poised to win that. So you did whatever was going to be necessary. You removed my damage. You didn't remove his damage. You removed my damage and my damage only. Because you're a piece of shit, cocksucker, brain dead fucking fuck you, developer. Fuck you. I can't go invincible for 15 seconds. Why was that guy allowed to? Nobody else in the match can. Why can that guy? We don't know why you're like this, developer. We just know you suck dick and we pray for you to fall. We all know what your problem is. Low IQ, terrible choices.
Where the fuck is my delivery? It says it's arrived. You knock on the neighbors, you say, hey, have you seen my... It's a thing. Don't worry about what it is.
He said, no, I haven't seen it. Oh, we had the same problem the other day.
All right. And then so you close the door and you go back on the thing and you go, right, well, the delivery's not here. It says it's here. It's not here. You message them. You say, hi there. I hope you're doing well. Sorry to disturb you, but actually my thing has not arrived. Chatbot replies to you. It says, oh, we're experiencing a high volume of messages right now. Please don't be frustrated. And you reply, I am frustrated. I really want this product. And they say, excuse me, sir, please calm down. And you say, let me talk to an agent. So you get on the call and it's been 3, 4, 5 days. Maybe after they ask you, have you checked your front door? Have you asked your neighbor? Maybe if you could be bothered to continue chasing this up, they might send you a replacement. Replacement gets sent. It finally arrives. It's here. I'm holding it. I plug it in. It doesn't fucking work. So now I have to return it. I have to return it by getting a QR code. I have the same packet. Go down to Royal Mail, stand in a line on my break. I return it. Then I have to wait 7 days for the refund. I have to check if the refund come. Oh, great. It hasn't come. So now I have to message. All of this to say, you have just been given the job that the shopkeeper on a high street does, right? The high street shop, they do the quality check for you. They check that the products are good before they put it on the shelves because, unlike Amazon, they don't have unlimited shelf space and they have to rely on return customers. In the UK, online returns were forecast to hit 27 billion in 2024. Around 36% of online UK shoppers have had delivery problems in a single month. Citizens Advice found that consumers spend £2 billion and 6 million hours fixing consumer problems since October 2023. And get this one, online shoppers were 7 times more likely to have a problem than buying in store. It is 7 times shitter buying online than buying in a shop. Oh, and that's not all, my friends, that is not all. 21% of online shoppers say that they've reluctantly kept an item that they were unhappy with because it was too much effort to return it. I know, I literally am that guy. I have a dress I bought my wife, not myself. I would look cute in it though. It sat there and I really need to return it. But I'm here shouting about the returns process to you. And so that's the cost that is on you, but that's not even to mention like environmental cost of online shopping. How much more returns add to carbon, the extra packaging, etc. Then go into the high street using a reusable tote bag. So in short, what these platforms do is basically they hack human biology by understanding our general gravitational pull towards convenience. So they offer us short-term savings, things that look cheaper when we see the price tag, but then they just stack those costs up somewhere else. The cost is our communities, our high street, our culture, our free time, our mental energy. The whole thing is kind of like a mirage. It's a smoke screen. It's not really that much better. If you had a real genuine alternative to it, and importantly, if you had time and effort to go to the alternative, you would use it. But in a world where people are, increasingly time poor and low energy, we often will opt for short-term convenience. It's like the perfect example is the poverty trap around washing machines. I mean, you might have heard this, but like people who are in poverty, they often don't own washing machines. So they go to a laundrette to do their washing. And the thing is, they actually spend more money overall going to a laundrette because they have to pay each time. But because they don't have the money to buy a washing machine one time, they can never afford that big purchase. They're in a trap. They spend more money in the long run. Feels to me very similar to what's going on with online shopping. It's fake convenience. So all of this, right? I think I've laid out my argument. I don't know if I addressed the am I a hypocrite thing. Yeah, I guess I am. Fuck you. But this is my argument. And I think, I've made the case that it's inevitable. If the market, if we have a market that preys on our human behavior of opting for efficiency, opting for things that take less energy from us, and then we build a very high pressure world around it that robs us of energy and time and money, then we're going to opt for these things generally. So the question is, and the whole point of the video, should we ban online selling platforms? In the 1930s, right, John Maynard Keynes, economics bruh, post-war consensus enthusiast, he once said,
In 100 years' time, he said, Western societies would be producing 4 or 5 times as much wealth per head as they were then, and needing to work only 15 hours a week producing.
Yeah, John was wrong, because John, what he didn't understand was political economy. Right, his belief was at the rate that technology was progressing, that will create so much surplus, it creates so much wealth that people won't have to work as much. And there was an element where this was kind of true, because, you know, throughout the 1900s, as we produced more technology, working hours came down. However, since the financial crisis, this trend has started to slowly stagnate and even reverse. So in the exact same period of time, if you think, yeah, 2008, Amazon pops off after that, right? A lot of new technology, all this amazing technology, AI, has come since this point. But as this technological boom has exploded, that should buy us so much more free time because it's making our lives more efficient, somehow we're starting to work more at the same time. How does that make any sense? The Resolution Foundation found that the average working week has got 40 minutes longer after 2009. Women and 18 to 24-year-olds paid working week rose by 60 minutes, excluding unpaid household work and travel time. Sage's 2024 UK survey claimed that 47% of Brits have a side hustle or secondary income stream on top of their job. 68% of 16 to 34-year-olds were running multiple side hustles on top of their day jobs. The trend's reversing, right? In this boom of technology, the younger generation are starting to work more. The thing is, and why John Maynard Keynes, his prediction didn't come true, was because that period of technological progress was also combined with political power, which enforced an expansion of worker protection. So as technology progressed in that time and brought us a surplus, the political system redistributed the profits into people's lives by affording us, you know, weekends, by affording us healthcare, by affording social housing so people didn't have to worry about rent and all this sort of stuff, right? The surplus that society was creating was distributed. And so it meant we didn't have to fight so hard to get the bare minimum. If your housing is subsidized by the state, maybe you don't do the overtime because you're kind of all right. And it's this which is missing in the modern day. Our political system isn't the same as what it was back in that post-war period. The profits and the surplus go to shareholders and the wealthy. Email didn't make it so that we could end office hours early. It made it so that you can always work, right? You can answer your emails late at night. The phone meant that we can take calls when we're driving to places. Cars, they didn't result in us traveling less to work. It meant often that we could travel more for work, spend more time commuting. Whilst technology can reduce the time taken to do a task, what capitalism does is raise the expectations of volume, speed, standard, or availability until any of the time that could have been saved and given to you so you could, you know, chill out a bit more, until most of that's disappeared. Unless you legislate and regulate and force these surpluses to shareholders and billionaires, then all technological progress is going to do is force you to work harder and harder because the standard and the competition just keeps raising. All that's really happened in the sort of last 15, 20...
Oops. My camera. Seven down, 15 up. I didn't really need that ammo, but I just went and got it anyways.
Sorry. I'll be getting these headshots tonight. Kitty. I'm about to go to bed here. I'm just trying to win. Ooh, car.
9 down, 8 up. There's still a lot left in the match. I don't see any of them though. Trying to get a win, kitty. Bring me luck. Bring me luck, kitty. I'm trying to get out of this. There, I knew I saw him. Where is fucking everybody? Where is everybody in this match? It's so dumb. There's 8 people. There's 6 people in here. I have not heard them die or see them die or gunshots or anything. People are just dying in the storm, I guess. Yeah, maybe it's all in the storm. Maybe they're all just bots and I killed anybody with any skill. There's probably 1 or 2 left. I just do not see them. Feel like he might be there. Yeah, if he was anywhere. Five people left, no hint. There's one. I knew I saw him. I see him moving. Oh, I hit him too. Who's this guy? Cover, but I don't know where. This wasn't it.
Got her. Yeah. And I'm going to stop on a win. Yeah, baby. Oh, sorry, kitty. I got to win. Yeah. I win. I win. I'm sorry to startle you. Okay, me and my kitty are going to bed on a win. Yeah. Getting in the end, look at the mass stats there. It was 12, and I got a nasty-ass headshot. Damage taken 142, hits 88, damage to structures, damage to players 3,000. I did 3,000 damage. I took 142. Accuracy was 11%. 12 kills. I took more than a tenth of the fucking match. Royal Preservation, double digit. Survivor, single digit. I was the first strike and the survivor. Yeah, it's a good way to. It's a good time to end. Tomorrow I'll be back to play some more Mortal Online. And I love you guys. Enter sleep mode and close Fortnite. Okay, I'm going to bed. You have been watching Skycatlive. I'm a full-time variety gamer all day, every day. Put me on in the background. Click on the cast face to donate. Come to the Twitch or the YouTube or the Kick. Give me a like, sub, or a follow. Thank you for hanging out with me on Kick today. It's good to get a Fortnite win as I close. And, thank you for being with me here today. Tomorrow, I don't know what the weather's like. If it is sunny, I will be walking for 5 miles. If it's raining all day, then it's just raining all day. But I'm going to probably walk for 5 miles around like 11, 12 in the afternoon. And then I'll be on probably about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, maybe, depending on what the weather is like tomorrow, maybe earlier, to go do some Mortal, maybe some Rust. I don't really know. It is the Rust wipe, but, I don't really know. So we'll see what, to probably the Mortal, probably play Mortal. So on that note, I'm going to bed, guys. Thank you so much. I love you guys, and we'll see you later. Bye.
20 years.
Oops. Going to upload this video to my channel, but I am going to stop with a reminder that I have thousands of videos on my YouTube channel, which is reflected here. You can see. And thank you so much. I also have many videos. Mortal 2 Sarduka expansion. Mortal 2 Sarduka expansion. And so we will do, I'm going to stop the video here and this stream.